feel like I shouldn't be allowed to have this much fun. I'm on day 2 of my speed run of the Artist's Way, where I try to do a 12-week course in 12 days to see if I like it and if I want to commit 3 months to it. And so I'm going to share with you my notes from chapter 2, week 2, in one day, and then some thoughts that I've had about why in the past I've given up on this book after week 2. There are things about it, there are things about this chapter that I think I don't quite connect with, and it's not necessarily the fault of the book, but I have thoughts. And after that, please stick around, because I'm going to share with you the results of my artist's date, which was probably the best thing I've ever done. So please stick around to see that. And so let's get onto my notes. So you start every morning with the morning pages, which are 3 pages of freehand writing, and I'm using unlined A4 paper, like scrap paper, like the back of printed paper. And I started this morning writing so tiny, and it took me about 20 minutes to fill up one side of A4. And Julia Cameron says to assign about 30 minutes to this task every day, so I don't think she's envisioning me writing so tiny. So I tried writing a bit bigger for the remaining 2 pages. And then I stuck the morning pages in this envelope here, because you're not supposed to read these morning pages until later on. Then I moved on to affirmation, blurbs and rebuttals. I have to say, I wrote down my affirmation 10 times and it sounded pretty good to me. So I didn't have that many blurbs. I was like, yeah, I guess I am pretty cool. Blurbs are supposed to be sort of negative knee-jerk reactions you get to the affirmations. But yeah, I felt pretty good today. Then I did the reading, and yes, I will tell you a little bit more about my thoughts about this chapter, chapter 2. And then I went on to the tasks. So I'm going to show you some of the tasks I did here in the notebook. So first of all, these are yesterday's pages. They're very cool. Watch yesterday's video if you want to see them. And first of all, yesterday I'd left this hat a little bit unfinished. This hat has in it some journaling I did about where kind of negative voices that block my creativity may come from. And I wasn't really sure where they came from. So I thought, if I make this hat into a little bookmark, then I'm going to carry it on and remember that that's something that I have kind of left unfinished. So I made it into a little bookmark like that. And then that's the thing though, like with this hat, a lot of the tasks are just journaling. So it's both kind of boring to show you and also sort of uncomfortably private. So you don't really get to see much of the tasks or exercises of this book. So I have this spread about imaginary lives. These are lives that you may have led if you had more lives. So by day 2, well, by week 2, but in my case, day 2, you get 10 lives. So I put them here. Train driver, magician, mathematician, chef, philosopher, photographer, dancer, author, archaeologist, traveling musician. By the way, I know that's optics, but it just looked pretty. And that's a book called Philosophy of Beards, which I thought was funny. And then I made the life pie, which is how fulfilled you feel in various parts of your life. Exercise, play, work, friends, romance, and, well, Julia Cameron puts adventure and romance together and then spirituality by itself. But because I'm not particularly spiritual, I thought I would put adventure and spirituality together. And that's kind of the areas where I can definitely improve. I guess, like, I mostly sit on my butt all day. So can definitely do better with exercise. And now I'll share some thoughts about the chapter that I had. Actually, before I do, there's something on the lens. Oh. Is this a little bit of your shining bright light? Thank you for sharing. I'll send it back to you. Okay, that was me living out my magician life, okay? And here are some notes. I hope we can all move on from that. 1. This chapter has a lot about people draining you, the people around you draining you or getting you roped into their drama, people that she calls crazy makers or people who are jealous of you and so on. And a little bit like with the Monster Hall of Fame in chapter 1, but the focus is so much on this in chapter 2. I don't really have that many negative people in my life. People in my life are, on the whole, very positive, very encouraging, very supportive and loving. So, I don't know, the focus on that kind of didn't really connect with me. I'm sure it does. It connects with a lot of other people. But in my case, I think that's one thing about this chapter that doesn't really connect with me. The second thing is that there is a focus on attention in this chapter. And I get that. I think paying attention is very important. Some people may call that mindfulness or presence. I think it's in the same kind of family of things. And I think it is very important. But then none of the tasks or exercises in this chapter focus on that. So basically, the chapter just says, it's good to pay attention. We should all pay attention. But it doesn't really give you any practical tools to do that. So that I just found that a little bit odd. Also, this quote, in the exact now, we are all always all right. Are we though? Sometimes in the exact now, we are in unspeakable pain, right? I think I am not understanding that sentence because she does say each moment by itself is bearable as well. So, that's a bit different from being all right. Bearable is a bit different. I don't know. And third, Julia Cameron says that you do not need to be spiritual or religious to enjoy this book and to get something out of it. She says you can be an atheist. However, one of the tasks this week is to go through the basic principles, and they are very God-centric. Sometimes she uses great creator, sometimes she uses other words, but they're very God-centric. And her suggestion is to substitute good, orderly direction as an acronym, I guess, God, good, orderly direction, instead of God, if you don't believe in God. And I don't get that. I don't think that makes much sense in most sentences. I don't really know what good orderly direction means in this context. For example, one of the basic principles is creativity is God's gift to us, and our gift back is to use it, or something like that. You can't really say creativity is good orderly direction's gift to us. That doesn't really make sense. Some of the words she suggests are flow, universe, goddess, mind, source, higher power. Some of those are similar to God, like goddess and higher power. And I don't think you can use the other one. Creativity is flow's gift to us. Doesn't really work. So I think I just struggled to connect to this chapter because of those things. Also, this is really no big deal, but I feel like Julia Cameron ran out of tasks for this week. There were 10 in chapter 1 and there are 10 here, but actually task 8 is to make a list, task 9 is to choose one item from the list, and task 10 is to execute that item. So I feel like she ran out of ideas. This is really not a big deal, but it just made me chuckle. And now what you've all been waiting for, what I've been waiting for my whole life, it seems. I didn't know this was my biggest dream, but this idea came to me fully formed yesterday when I was thinking about an artist date. And so here we go. I went to the grocery shop and I bought purple foods only. No thinking, no planning, just colour. And then I made an entirely purple dinner. I don't know that I've ever been happier with a meal I've made in my whole life. Should I count this as living out my imaginary life as a chef? Honestly, this is the best thing I've ever done. No food colouring, only actual food that's purple. I'm telling you, are grown-ups allowed to have this much fun? On that note, one of the tasks today was to identify a small change you can make that will improve your well-being. And so I think I should wrap this up now and try and get 8 hours of sleep tonight. So I'll see you tomorrow with day 3. Thank you for watching. Good night.